is pretty important to the job, and actually having a relationship with people where they feed you information that they're not blasting to 1,000 other people's email inboxes is pretty valuable. I try to talk to people who seem reliable and are well connected to the industry on the phone regularly, and that doesn't stop my inbox from getting 200 or 300 emails a day with just pitch blasts, but that's what the delete button's for. Exactly.
And Beth, do you do something different, or how does that approach work for you?
Yeah, I think there's so much value in getting emails with press releases, and as Mark said, letting the bloggers know early or even under embargo so they can get the story ready and get it out quick, because timely is very important. But in parent bloggers, we're not reporting like the latest and greatest news. We don't have to do it. But I'm actually surprised at how many companies don't have like a feed that you can subscribe to the press releases, because that's the best thing I have. All my feeds in Google Reader, and I love the companies who have feeds I can subscribe to where I get the press releases. Every day I go and I check it out. So I think that's a big hint. It's like get the press releases in a place that the media can find it, and then also let them subscribe to it, and maybe you can do categories.
So actually that brings up, you mentioned the word timing, which is I think another interesting aspect here. Each one of you, maybe it's Beth on one end and Mark and Andrew on the other. Like Mark and Andrew, I know you guys focus more on new news, and Beth maybe focuses more on
old news.
More based around the beat, right, or the audience. So, for example, Mark, you might be really interested about a company that announces something. Same with you, Andrew. Whereas Beth, maybe you're interested in actually having it in your hands. For example, I don't know, I'm making it up. Would you mind going through and telling me, like for example, Mark, what's the best time in the whole process of the news cycle of whatever's being pitched to you? What's the best part of that for the marketers to talk to you? Is it when there's a product? Is it before there's a product? Is it before anything has been announced about the product?
Yeah, for us to get a scoop on it.
So the scoop matters.
Yeah.
The scoop really matters.
Yeah, that's what news is about. We want to be first in telling people something.
So are you more likely to write about something that's being pitched to you if you know that no one else is getting it before you get it?
Yeah, if it's newsworthy and relevant to our audience, then yeah, I think exclusives definitely help.
Andrew, is that sort of a similar thing for you?
I think my answer is a little more involved. Typically, we definitely, I agree, a scoop is great. Some exclusive content is great. But obviously, exclusivity on the internet, once it's posted, is gone 5 minutes later because everybody else is posting it. So it's out there.
They're all linking to you.
Right, which is great. But I think the problem, at least in what I do with consumer electronics, and that's why we're all here, is that a lot of this stuff is controlled by PR. And I saw a lot of people raise their hands saying that you're in marketing. And what PR does is they blast the news out. CES, hey, we just announced a new phone. It'll be out in 6 months. We just announced this. It'll be out in 3 months. We just announced this. Look forward to it in Q4 2012. Well, that's great. We can write about all that. But when March rolls around, PR is on to the next thing. And you marketing people who are in charge of now making sure people know that this thing is about to hit the stores, I never hear from you guys. I'm hearing from all the PR people in your companies pitching me on the next product that's coming out, next January, and I already wrote about this phone that's coming out next week. That's a hot phone, but I'm not hearing from you. And you guys gotta start getting involved as well as marketing folks.
What I just add on to that is that's the time when parent bloggers is when the product's coming out. We definitely want to write about it because that's when families can actually start purchasing it. So.
Right. That's when like we care about the early stuff because it's exclusive to us and we get traffic, but the people that are going to buy your product, they don't care about it now that it's coming out in 6 months. They want to know, like, socks. It's like, I'm covering gadgets, I'm covering software, and people are, hey, you want to try out these socks? They're really cool for running. It's like, well, that doesn't really fit, and I'm not going to go back to that. The only reason I'd ever post it is to say, like, here's what not to do. You obviously haven't checked me out and don't know my audience, so don't do this, but I don't want that or something like that.
That's back to relevance. And that's interesting because that brings up the question of the feed. Like Beth, you brought up the idea of well, can I subscribe to your press releases? That's not necessarily going to be very targeted, right? If you're following a company that example is.
Like LG, they make washer, dryer, and nails.
Right, exactly. LG's a good one. You know, and you're going to get all of those. So does that?
It's still relevant if you cover founding tech. LG is relevant, and all Sony, all these companies are relevant. So yeah, it's still relevant. But you're right. Some companies are so big they want to have categories. Subscribing by categories.
And plus, that's like a self-subscribe thing. What can they do if they wanted to? Let's say they offer a fee. What's the right approach to follow up on that? Do you guys find that? Do PR people ever do you get a press release and then they send you an email following up to say hey, did you get this? What do you think? Is this your audience? Does that happen? Does that improve the chances of you guys writing about it?
Yeah, especially if they show that they've actually paid attention to me. Like I have some PR people that say, hey, Andrew, I want to talk to you about a product. And did you see those new Air Jordans that came out last week? And that means that they know that I like sneakers. I never write about sneakers, but they know they've been following me long enough to know the things I talk about. And so they're actually proving that they've been a long time follower and that they just want to talk about this product. And I think they're making a personal connection, and that's way more valuable than a random press release.
Mark, do you get a lot of that?
Follow-ups or personalized?
Yeah, follow-ups.
Yeah, I mean, I'll get a lot of. I think a lot of PR people have a schedule where they say I blasted these emails out to these 24 reporters, and then in 3 days I'm going to do a reply email to each one individually. So I get a lot of those.
You get a lot of that. So and it feels formulaic.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Does it help anyway?
No.
Do you go through an editor? If you have here's the other thing. It's do you ever have a situation where you're or I suppose ever is the wrong word, but is there anything that the person who's giving you the story can do that will help the process of getting it past your editor?
I mean, I have the direct relationship with my editor, and it's generally I'll pitch him. I'll say I think this is worthwhile, and we should do this, and most of the time he'll agree. Sometimes he'll overrule me, but just make a good product is really all you have to do. Have some interesting news, and then people will write about it.
It's interesting because I have down here for here. One of the questions I want to ask is we're talking about all the rules and all the things that work, but we can talk about breaking them too. And of course, everyone's favorite example is Apple.
One is just a feed. Two is a personal, where they actually say my name, not the Dear Blogger, or just Dear. Then that has the most higher value, absolutely. But in the end, it's the product.
Yeah, I think it really is the product. I mean, I'm a human being, like you said, and so I'm not, trying to write about anything that I'm not excited about. What I'm excited about is what my audience is excited about. So, a company like Apple, they can make it way easier on us, but in reality, their products are very well received and very well desired, and for me to just ignore that because they never reach out to me would be silly. So, but there's other companies out there that just aren't as big. Apple's the biggest company in the U.S. right now. There's a lot of companies here at CES that are nowhere near as big as that, and I'm never going to know about their products unless they let me know. And a press release really isn't enough to get my attention at this point. Because like I said, it's just going to be, a stack of 100 others. So really a personal approach would work.
So we've talked a lot about press releases and email inboxes, and that's very classic approach to talking to bloggers and journalists. But of course, this is a session about social technologies. Obviously, channels matter. Do you get a lot of communications about new products over Twitter, over Facebook? Does that make a difference when you see that on those different channels?
The other day I got someone asking me about something on Twitter, and usually I'll check them out when they mention me if I don't know who they are. And I went in to see what just what he talks about. And the last 100 tweets of his were, "Hey, at so and so, can I talk to you about the product? Hey, at other person." And he was just blanketing a bunch of Twitter handles. And so that kind of person, no. But if there's someone that's actually genuinely trying to interact with you on Twitter, it just shows they're taking the time to not send out blanket anything. They're actually trying to connect one-on-one with someone. So since they're taking the time to do that, I'll usually give them the time to at least listen.
Also, it's good that they respond back to. I was doing a TV segment and I needed a product to show on the TV segment, and they were following the Twitter feed. They got right back to me, and the product was on TV a couple days later. So follow your Twitter feeds and make sure you're responding back to the press.
I prefer email. don't know. I get some of the public like shout outs over Twitter, and there's a lot of spam on Twitter, so on my app replies will look at it, it's like, direction pills, buy a PS3, hey, did you get my email about our new battery charger or something? So, and I don't really know a lot of these people personally, so I get a social media, I get a tweet from them, and